There was a time when I clung to the illusion of control like a life raft. I thought if I planned enough, worked hard enough, and held on tightly enough, life would bend to my will. I believed that discipline and determination could shield me from chaos, that I could shape the world around me through sheer force of will. But life, in its quiet brutality, has a way of unraveling our delusions. Control is a comforting lie we tell ourselves, a fragile illusion that crumbles the moment reality knocks on the door. We build our lives like carefully stacked dominoes, convinced they'll fall in the pattern we choose. But life doesn't follow our script. It tears through our expectations like a storm, scattering the pieces we worked so hard to arrange. And no matter how tightly we grip the reins, the horse runs wild. We plan our futures as if we own time, as if tomorrow is promised. We tell ourselves we'll be happy when we reach a certain milestone, when circumstances align just so. But then life laughs. A phone call in the middle of the night, a diagnosis, a betrayal, a goodbye we never saw coming. And suddenly, the world shifts on its axis. In those moments, control slips through our fingers like sand, and we're left standing in the wreckage of our best-laid plans, wondering how we ever believed we were in charge. But the loss of control isn't a punishment, it's a reckoning. It strips away our illusions, leaving us face to face with the truth. We were never steering the ship. We were passengers all along, pretending to navigate seas we couldn't predict. And strangely, there's freedom in that realization. When we release the need to control every outcome, we make room for life to unfold as it will, not as we demand. I've learned that peace doesn't come from mastering life, but from surrendering to it. There's a quiet strength in letting go, in accepting that uncertainty is the price we pay for being alive. It doesn't mean we stop trying, stop caring, or stop dreaming. It means we stop grasping at the impossible. We learn to move with life instead of fighting against it, to hold loosely what we once clenched in our fists. Because control is a burden we were never meant to carry, and the longer we cling to it, the heavier it becomes. But when we finally release it, when we let life be as unpredictable and uncontrollable as it is, we find something unexpected. Relief. We no longer have to shape every moment to feel safe. We no longer have to orchestrate every detail to feel whole. Life flows, whether we resist or not. And the more we try to dam the river, the more turbulent it becomes. But when we stop trying to control the current, when we learn to float, we discover that even in the chaos, we are still alive. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. There was a time when I measured myself by the reflections in other people's eyes. Their approval felt like oxygen, their disapproval like a weight pressing against my chest. I walked carefully, spoke cautiously, shaped myself into something palatable, all for the sake of fitting into a world that never really noticed. But as the years pass, something shifts. The voices that once echoed so loudly in my mind begin to fade. The judgments that once felt like stone turn to dust, and I realize, perhaps too late, that none of it ever truly mattered. We spend so much of our lives trying to live up to expectations that were never ours to begin with. We contort ourselves to fit into molds designed by people who don't know our hearts, who don't carry our burdens, who won't be there when the lights go out and we are left alone with our own thoughts. We let their opinions shape our choices, their approval dictate our worth. And for what? The truth is, people are too consumed with their own lives to be watching ours as closely as we think. They have their own fears, their own insecurities, their own silent struggles. And yet we waste years fearing their judgment, holding back, shrinking ourselves, terrified of whispers that will be forgotten by morning. But time is an unrelenting teacher, and one day you wake up and realize that the voices you feared have grown quiet, not because they've stopped speaking, but because you've stopped listening. Their opinions no longer define you. Their validation no longer fuels you. You stop looking over your shoulder, stop explaining yourself, stop justifying your existence to those who were never meant to understand you. And in that silence, you find something unexpected. Yourself. The version of you that was buried beneath layers of performance, hidden behind masks of acceptability. The version that doesn't need applause, doesn't crave permission. The version that simply is. Because the truth is, people will always have something to say. They will praise you one day and forget you the next. They will misunderstand you, misjudge you, rewrite your story in their own words. But none of that has anything to do with you. And when you finally stop living for their approval, when you stop twisting yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, you find freedom. Not in being liked, not in being admired, but in being untethered. The weight of other people's opinions is only as heavy as the power you give it. And when you let it go, when you stop caring about things that were never yours to carry, you realize just how light you were always meant to be. I used to believe in fairness. I thought that if I played by the rules, if I was kind, if I gave more than I took, life would somehow balance the scales. That justice wasn't just an idea, but a force that governed the world. But life, in its quiet and relentless way, teaches us otherwise. Fairness is a story we tell children so they can sleep at night, a comforting illusion, a way to make sense of chaos. But step outside that dream and you'll see the truth. Life does not care for fairness. The world does not hand out rewards for goodness, nor does it punish cruelty with precision. The wicked thrive, the righteous suffer, and the most deserving often go unnoticed. You work hard, you sacrifice, you give everything you have, and still life may turn its back on you. You love with all your heart, and people leave anyway. You build something with care only to watch it crumble in an instant. The cruel reality is this: effort does not always equal reward, and suffering does not always come with reason. And yet we waste years waiting for the universe to set things right, for karma to come knocking, for some unseen force to tip the scales in our favor. But fairness is not a law written into existence. It is not a promise kept by time. There are no guarantees. And the sooner we stop expecting them, the freer we become. That doesn't mean we surrender to cynicism. It doesn't mean we stop trying, stop giving, stop believing in goodness. It simply means we stop expecting the world to repay us in kind. We do what we do not because we hope for some cosmic reward, but because we choose to. We are kind because kindness is its own reward. We fight for what is right, not because we expect victory, but because it is worth fighting for. And when life is unfair, when we are struck down without reason, when we see the cruel prosper and the gentle suffer, we do not waste time demanding explanations. We do not sit in the ruins of our expectations, lamenting the injustice of it all. We rise, we move forward, we build again, knowing that fairness was never part of the deal. There is a strange kind of peace in accepting this. When we let go of the idea that life owes us something, we stop keeping score. We stop waiting for things to even out. We learn to take what comes, to endure without bitterness, to give without expectation. Because life is not fair. It never was. But that doesn't mean it isn't beautiful. It doesn't mean it isn't worth living. It simply means we must find meaning beyond fairness. We must create our own reasons to keep going. Not because the world is just, but because we choose to go on anyway. For years I treated pain like an enemy. I ran from it, resisted it, did everything in my power to avoid its grip. I saw it as something to be conquered, something unfair, something that had no place in a life well lived. But time has a way of revealing what we failed to see in our youth. Pain is not an intruder, it is a messenger. It does not come to destroy but to instruct. And if we are willing to listen, it will teach us more than comfort ever could. We spend our lives chasing happiness, mistaking it for the true measure of success. We seek pleasure, security, the illusion of an untroubled life. But suffering is woven into the very fabric of existence, and no amount of running will keep it from finding us. People leave, dreams collapse, the body weakens. The world does not stop moving for our grief. And yet, in the depths of that sorrow, there is something waiting for us. Pain strips away the illusions we cling to. It forces us to see ourselves as we are, not as we pretend to be. It humbles us, reminds us of what truly matters. In suffering, the noise of the world quiets, and we are left with something raw, something real. Pain is honest. It does not flatter, does not deceive. It shows us where we are broken, where we need to heal, where we have been blind. And in that there is power. It is through pain that we grow. Comfort does not forge strength. Adversity does. Loss teaches us the value of what we have. Failure forces us to confront our limits and push beyond them. Heartbreak reminds us that we were capable of love in the first place. Every scar we carry is a lesson learned, a battle survived, proof that we are still standing when we thought we would fall. But most people resist pain. They numb it, suppress it, try to outpace it. They see it as a curse rather than a teacher. But pain ignored is pain prolonged. It will wait patiently until we are ready to face it. And when we finally do, when we stop treating it as an enemy and begin to listen, we realize that it was never trying to hurt us. It was trying to wake us up. Pain is a doorway. On the other side of it, we are different, wiser, stronger, clearer. We do not emerge unchanged, nor should we. Pain is the chisel that carves away what is unnecessary, shaping us into something new. And though it may feel unbearable in the moment, though it may bring us to our knees, it is not without purpose. Because the truth is, we are not meant to live untouched by suffering. We are meant to endure it, learn from it, and, in the end, rise because of it. For most of my life, I believed happiness was something to be earned, something waiting on the horizon. It was always the next achievement, the next possession, the next victory. I told myself, I'll be happy when I have this, when I reach that, when life finally gives me what I deserve. But the horizon never stops moving, and happiness, when treated as a destination, remains forever out of reach. We are taught to chase happiness as if it were a prize, as if it could be secured and held in our hands. We structure our lives around the pursuit of it, convinced that once we attain a certain level of success, wealth, or love, then and only then we will finally feel content. But the truth is, happiness is not a fixed point. It is not waiting for us in the future. It does not live in what we do not yet have. It exists only in the present, and the more we chase it, the further it seems to run. Look around. The happiest moments are never the ones we planned for. They are never the grand achievements, the trophies, the applause. They are found in the simplest things. A quiet morning, a warm breeze, the sound of laughter. They come in flashes, slipping between the cracks of ordinary days. But we miss them. We miss them because we are too busy chasing something bigger, too distracted by the idea that happiness is something grand, something permanent. But happiness is fleeting. It is not meant to be a constant state. It comes and goes like the tide, appearing in brief, beautiful moments before slipping away. And that is not a flaw, it is the nature of life. Yet we convince ourselves that if we can just get everything right, if we can just arrange our lives perfectly, happiness will settle in and stay. But that is not how it works. There will always be another problem, another worry, another reason to postpone joy. If we do not learn to find happiness in the small, quiet moments, we will never find it at all. I have seen people reach the mountaintop of their ambitions, only to feel as empty as they did before they began the climb. They believed happiness was waiting for them at the summit, but when they arrived, they realized they had spent their entire journey ignoring it. Because happiness was never at the top. It was in the steps along the way, in the struggle, in the laughter, in the love that surrounded them before they even began. So, if happiness exists anywhere, it exists now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when life is perfect. It is here, in this moment, waiting to be noticed. And the moment we stop chasing it, the moment we stop demanding it be something bigger, something more, we might just realize it was with us all along. There was a time when I believed in permanence. I thought people would stay, love would last, and the moments I cherished would remain untouched by time. But life has a way of teaching us otherwise. Nothing is permanent. Not the people we love, not the dreams we build, not even the versions of ourselves we once held so dearly. We cling to things as if they are unmovable, as if they will remain exactly as they are forever. We hold on to people, believing they will never leave. We chase love, convinced it will never fade. We revisit memories, hoping they will feel the same each time. But everything changes. People grow apart. Love shifts, softens, or disappears entirely. Even the past, which we assume to be unchangeable, becomes something different in our minds. What once felt vivid dulls with time, details blur, emotions fade, and we realize that even our memories are not safe from change. And yet we resist. We fight against the inevitable, as if holding on tighter will stop time from moving forward. But change does not ask for permission. It does not care for our desires, our attachments, or our grief. It arrives, unannounced, reshaping the world we thought we knew, and the more we resist it, the more it hurts. We are not meant to hold on to things as if they are eternal. We are meant to experience them, to cherish them while they last, and to let them go when their time has passed. The beauty of life is not in its permanence, but in its fleeting nature. The people who walk beside us today may not be there tomorrow. The love that feels unbreakable now may one day be a memory. And that is not a tragedy, it is simply the way of things. There is a strange kind of freedom in accepting this. When we stop expecting things to last forever, we begin to appreciate them for what they are in the moment. We love more deeply, knowing that love is not guaranteed. We hold people closer, not out of fear of losing them, but out of gratitude for their presence now. We stop trying to freeze time and instead learn to live within it, embracing each moment as it comes, not as we wish it to be. Because nothing lasts, not joy, not sorrow, not even the pain we think will never end. Everything shifts, everything moves, and in that impermanence there is a kind of peace. We do not have to fear change. We do not have to mourn the passing of time. We only have to understand that life was never meant to be something we could keep. It was always meant to be something we could only experience for as long as we are lucky enough to be here. Time does not stop. It does not pause for reflection, does not grant second chances, does not concern itself with our desires or regrets. It moves forward, relentlessly, indifferent to whether we are ready or not. We like to believe we have control over it, that we can manage it, save it, even bargain with it. But time is not ours to keep. It is the most unforgiving force we will ever encounter, and the cruelest truth is that once it is gone, it does not return. We waste so much of it, convinced there will always be more. We put off the things that matter, telling ourselves there will be a better time, a more convenient day. We postpone joy, delay love, silence our own desires, all in the name of some imagined future where we will finally get around to living. But time does not wait for us to be ready. It does not care for our excuses, our hesitation, our fear. It simply moves. And before we know it, the moments we took for granted have slipped through our fingers. We think of time as something we have in abundance, but it is the rarest currency. We spend it carelessly, not realizing how little of it we truly possess, and then one day we look back and wonder where it all went. The people we thought we'd always have are gone. The dreams we promised ourselves we'd chase remain untouched. The conversations we thought we'd have, the apologies we meant to give, the love we meant to show, all of it lost to time's unforgiving passage. There is no reclaiming it, no rewinding, no do-overs. We do not get to negotiate with time, do not get to ask for more when we finally understand its worth. The only thing we can do is live fully in what we have left, to stop waiting, to stop delaying, to understand that this moment, right now, is the only certainty we will ever have. So, say what you need to say while you still have the chance. Love without hesitation, forgive without waiting for the perfect moment. Do the things that set your soul on fire, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, because time does not wait. And the saddest truth is that one day we will realize how much of it we wasted, but by then there will be no more left to spend. So, what do we do with all of this? With the knowledge that nothing is permanent, that pain is a teacher, that time is ruthless, and happiness is not something to chase, but something to notice. We live, not in fear, not in regret, not in waiting, but in presence. We stop expecting life to be fair, stop seeking control where there is none, stop wasting time on the opinions of others. Instead, we embrace what is. We cherish what we have while we have it, knowing it will not last. We love fully, knowing hearts will break. We walk forward, knowing time does not wait. And in that acceptance, in that surrender, we find something deeper than happiness. We find